Michael Brown was laid to rest today, there was no shortage of fiery rhetoric surrounding his death and the case against Officer Darren Wilson this weekend. Now take a look at Missouri Congressman Lacy Clay's warning about what might happen in Ferguson if justice is not served the way he believes it should be.
We're concerned that if we do not get to the truth and get to what actually happened and bring justice to this situation, then there's going to be a problem in the streets.
All right, here with reaction is the family attorney for Michael Brown. Darryl Parks is back with us. Let me ask you in a broader context. You were involved in the Trayvon Martin case. That's where I first got to know you. You're involved in this case. You know how many shootings took place in Chicago this weekend? Do you have any idea?
I'm sure there were many, Sean, but you know, I think one of the things that came out of the funeral today was that all of the violence in our community needs to stop, even if it's committed by African Americans. We need a reduction in violence in our community. So we addressed that within the course of even this service today, Sean.
Yeah, well, there were 6 people dead, 42 shootings in Chicago alone this weekend, another 9 in New York. A 3-year-old died in Chicago. 2 teenagers died in Chicago. There was a case in Salt Lake City where a black police officer shot an unarmed 20-year-old white teenager. Circumstances may be different. Why are there certain cases that make it to the media's consciousness and others do not? Or the activist consciousness and others do not? Why is it? Do you think some of it is they've got it? The question is, do they have their own agendas here? Do they show up here but not Salt Lake City, not Chicago, where a lot more shootings are taking place?
Well, first of all, you can only be so many places. And I think that although they get a bad rap by some parts of our country, people who do civil rights work, it's a struggle. I mean, there's not money in it. It's not prestige. It's work when you're trying to fight for people who, in many cases, they thank you, but some may not thank you for what you're doing for them. And so those are situations that other Americans should help in this struggle to go to try and help people who need help.
Darryl, last weekend, 29 people were shot in Chicago. This weekend, 42 people were shot in Chicago. You know, I don't see the protests. I don't see the anger. I don't see people going in the community and saying, knock it off. The very same people we see in Ferguson makes me think that they only try to capitalize, or this is selective moral outrage, when it's an issue that they think they can drive home a racial message. For example, in the Trayvon Martin case, you know, it was a Hispanic involved in that shooting against Trayvon Martin. But they tried in the beginning to make it black versus white, didn't they?
No, well, I think it was just a tragedy. I think all of these deaths are tragedies. You know, when I sat there and watched Michael Brown's casket today there and saw the finality and the sorrow on his family, his mother and father, this was a tragedy. It's an American tragedy. And all of these deaths are American tragedies. So something needs to be done about all of these folks who are losing their lives.
But the difference is this case became about race. The people, this is for many people, this is about race and race only. And by the way, I share your sympathy. I've told you this before. My thoughts and prayers are with this guy's mother. You know, when his uncle says, you know, Michael's blood is crying from the ground, crying for vengeance, and Spike Lee says what he said, that he, you know, basically burn the place down afterwards, or that he hopes that it really blows up was the term he used. I'm thinking, this is irresponsible. People that are supposed to be leading.
Sean.
And here's the problem. You don't know what happened that day. You do not know what happened. I don't know what happened. And we have diametrically opposed versions that are out there. It's irresponsible without having the facts for all these people to make this about race. That's my point, isn't it?
Let me make a point. Yeah, I agree. Let me say this here, though.
You agree?
I think when people say vengeance, they're not talking about force or fighting. I think that as we saw Michael Brown's body lay in that road, and when I saw all the bullets in this kid's body as we did the work we're doing, we want justice. So the drive and the thirst is for justice,
I gotta use his
not
words.
to harm anyone.
Listen, this is Bernard Ewing. I assume you know him. He's his uncle, right?
I've heard the name
Michael
before.
Brown's blood is crying from the ground, crying for vengeance. I still have anger in my heart. I still have revenge on my heart. You see, what I am concerned about, and this happened in the case where I first got to know you, everybody rushed to judgment. You know, then the testimony in that case came in, and you and I may disagree in the verdict, but it was pretty compelling when you have an eyewitness talking about ground and pound. A very different story emerged. Now we've got two diametrically opposed versions of what happened here. We don't know. Shouldn't the people that are there whipping people up into a frenzy, saying no justice, no peace, they want revenge, you know, well, it'll burn down if the verdict doesn't come back. Isn't that irresponsible? You're an attorney. You believe in the justice system, don't you?
I believe in the system, but let me say this here. Don't confuse asking for justice as them asking for vengeance. No one said do anything to anyone. No one's advocating that.
But the point is,
what we are saying, though, that there's a great thirst for justice in this situation, and justice will be had.
If Michael Brown, if he did run towards the police officer, which is different than what Dorian Johnson, who was involved in the robbery with Michael Brown, said, that he was shot in the back and that he had his hands up. If, in fact, he was really running for that officer, legally speaking, and you believe somebody's innocent until proven guilty, right?
I do.
Then that would be justifiable use of force. You know the law, and I know the law. So until the facts are in, everyone that's saying this is a race case doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, do they? They really don't know the facts.
No. And you shouldn't make it a race, because, I mean, race is a bad subject. But what it is, though, there's a clear violation of civil rights. When this kid was running away, at the moment the officer stepped out of the car, when that officer decided to shoot him, that's was a civil rights violation, because there was no threat to the officer.
If that's true, that he was running away and he wasn't running back, remember, we have the audio tape, somebody saying he doubled back and went towards the officer. That's an audio tape I played on this show. If he was running away and had his hands up and wasn't moving, then it would be not justified. But if he was running towards the officer in a threatening way, kind of like he was threatening towards that store clerk, that would be justifiable by the law.
Well, let me say this here, too. Today we mourn Michael Brown. Today is a day of mourning and calm. After the day, there are a ton of witnesses that we could discuss in some later shows that get to the nitty-gritty in this case.
All right, Darrell. Appreciate you coming back on the program. Thank you.